It was the kind of twist that nobody, not even the most dedicated EastEnders fans, saw coming. Just when everyone thought Ben Mitchell's story had gone quiet, he came back with a bang. No warning, no build-up, just pure shock. After months away, serving time in an American prison, Ben Mitchell has returned, and his sudden reappearance has left Walford spinning. But one question now hangs over everything. What happens when Ben finds out what his husband, Callum, has been hiding? It all started quietly. For months, the name Ben Mitchell was barely spoken in the square. People whispered about him, wondered what might be going on behind those prison walls overseas, but no one expected to see him again so soon. In today's episode, that all changed. Viewers were treated to the moment everyone had been waiting for: Ben's first on-screen appearance since 2024. When the heavy prison door creaked open, there he was. Ben sat calmly on the edge of his bunk, the same sharp look in his eyes, a small chain around his neck glinting in the dim light. That single image said everything: he's been through hell, but he's still Ben Mitchell. The charm of the cross around his neck caught the light just enough to remind fans of who he is: strong, complicated, and unpredictable. But while Ben was behind bars, life in Walford moved on, and not in the way he would have imagined. Back home, Callum was preparing for one of the hardest days of his life: his dad Jono's funeral. The day was supposed to be about grief and closure, but for Callum, it became the start of something even more complicated: a secret that could destroy everything. Behind closed doors, Callum had grown close to Johnny Carter. What started as comfort and companionship turned into something more, something neither of them planned but couldn't ignore. It was passion mixed with guilt, hidden glances, and stolen moments that risked everything. Deep down, Callum knew this wasn't something he could keep quiet forever, but he also knew what it would mean if Ben found out. Callum told Johnny it would be best to stay away from the funeral. He wanted to keep things simple, at least for one day. But fate, as always in Walford, had other ideas. The two couldn't stay apart, and in one reckless moment, they shared a kiss right in the pub. The problem? Someone saw them. And not just anyone: Kathy Beale. The shock on Kathy's face said it all. She didn't hesitate. She ran straight to Harvey and Ian, trying to make sense of what she just witnessed. Within hours, the whispers began. Kathy wasn't about to let Callum betray her son, not while Ben was sitting in prison, completely in the dark. It didn't take long for her anger to boil over. In a moment straight out of a classic EastEnders confrontation, Kathy found Callum in the square and confronted him in front of everyone. Her words cut deep, accusing him of betraying Ben and destroying their family. Then came the slap, quick, sharp, and full of emotion. The entire square fell silent, watching as years of family tension burst into the open. But Callum wasn't about to back down. He tried to explain, to apologize for the way things had unfolded, but he wasn't willing to apologize for his feelings. He called Kathy out, reminding her of her own affair with Harvey, a truth that hit her hard. It was a brutal reminder that no one in Walford is innocent, not even Kathy Beale. Just when things couldn't get any more dramatic, another shock came: the sudden return of Callum's brother, Stuart. His appearance at the funeral stunned everyone, especially Callum, who quickly discovered that it was Johnny who had persuaded Stuart to come back. It was a gesture meant to help, but it only tangled things even further. The Mitchells, of course, were quick to get involved. Phil didn't waste a second before being told about Callum's affair. The news spread like wildfire, threatening to rip apart both families. But instead of caving under pressure, Callum did something no one expected. He stood his ground. He made it clear he wasn't ashamed of what he felt, that his relationship with Johnny was real and that he wanted to pursue it openly. That honesty, brutal and raw, seemed to finally reach Kathy. After some soul-searching and wise words from Harvey, she began to soften. For the first time, she saw that maybe Callum wasn't trying to replace Ben, but simply trying to move forward. So she agreed to let them be, but with one powerful condition: Callum had to tell Ben the truth. No lies, no secrets, no more hiding. He owed that much to both Ben and their daughter, Lexi. As the funeral approached, Callum tried to focus on saying goodbye to his father. Standing by the graveside, surrounded by Johnny and Stuart, he looked like a man torn between the past and the future. The grief on his face wasn't just for his dad, it was for the mess his life had become. And in that moment, he made a promise to himself: he would fly to America and tell Ben everything face to face. But Walford had other plans. As the funeral service began, the air was heavy, the crowd subdued. Then, suddenly, a familiar voice echoed from the back of the church, calm, sharp, and unmistakably Ben's. "Think I'd miss a good funeral?" Every head turned. The room fell silent. There he was, Ben Mitchell, standing in the doorway like a storm that had finally come home. Dressed in dark clothes, eyes locked on Callum, the smirk on his face carried a mix of pain and power. It wasn't just a surprise return, it was a warning. Callum froze, his face drained of color. Johnny could barely look up. The weight of every secret, every lie, every stolen moment hung in the air. The man they'd been talking about for months was suddenly standing right there, looking at them, and he knew something was up. Ben's time timing couldn't have been more explosive. Just when Callum thought he'd have the chance to explain, to confess on his own terms, Ben turned up in person. No warning, no letter, no phone call. The shock on Callum's face said it all. This wasn't how it was supposed to happen. And now, the entire future of their relationship hangs in the balance. Will Ben forgive Callum when the truth about Johnny comes out? Or will this betrayal be the one thing that finally pushes him over the edge? Because if there's one thing everyone knows about Ben Mitchell, it's that he doesn't forgive easily. He's been betrayed, broken, and rebuilt too many times to take this lightly. And judging by that final smirk, he's already planning his next move. Whatever happens next, one thing's for sure: Ben Mitchell's return has reignited every bit of chaos that makes EastEnders what it is. Walford won't be the same again. And for Callum Highway, the real storm hasn't even begun.